don't want to give too much away, but the finals of My Kitchen Rules start on Monday night. I don't know if you'll be watching that. I haven't actually seen any of My Kitchen Rules at all, but there are so many ads, it's nauseating. I feel like I know exactly what is going on with My Kitchen Rules. And the thing I love about these shows is when it starts to get really down to the wire, when there's a lot of pressure on and people feel like they're going to fall short with their cooking skills, all sorts of stuff starts to happen. Intrigue, cheating, all kinds of things like that. And My Kitchen Rules is no exception. Based on my knowledge of the ads, which is as extensive as yours, it seems on Monday that Jake and Elle from Queensland are going to be feeling a little bit insecure about their cooking skills. A little bit scared they're going to fall short. So much so that faced with the threat of being exposed, they embark on a bit of cooking sabotage. You will not believe it. At a key moment, they will do the absolute unthinkable to Joanna and Jenna from South Australia. And if you haven't seen this, you will not believe what I'm about to tell you. Right when you think that Jake and Elle are going to give up on the facade of being amazing chefs, right when you think they're going to say, no, we can't do this, it happens. They steal somebody else's bok choy. What a great show. I wonder if you've ever had a situation in your life where you thought, I'm about to be exposed and people are not going to find out I can't actually do this. Has there been a time when something's going to happen where you feel, I'm being caught short here? This is not me. Maybe you've told a few little lies. Maybe you've exaggerated the skills on your resume just a little bit. Maybe you've fallen short with your spouse or with your friends or your family. How did you feel? What did you do when you thought you might be exposed? And if you've come here this morning, I wonder if you've ever thought about falling short with God and what you would do then and what you do on the days when it feels like you've fallen short with Him. Because this morning, what I want to do is walk us through a couple of incidents in the bits of the Bible we've just read on the way to Jesus' death and see two men who have fallen a long way short of their own standards, let alone anyone else's. What we're going to do is look at Peter's loyalty problem and Pilate's popularity problem. Peter's loyalty problem and Pilate's popularity problem as we go along the way to Jesus' crucifixion. Now, the first guy, Peter, you've probably heard of Peter. He's the fisherman, one of the inner crew of Jesus' circle, and one of the featured guys in the story we read on the way to the crucifixion. Now, the thing about Peter is, this guy is a loyalist in his mind, sticking with Jesus no matter what. So like all the loyal politicians of the last few weeks, if you put Peter on camera, he would say, no matter what, I am committed to Jesus' leadership. And even though Jesus gives him an opportunity for an out, Peter's got a standard he wants to stick to. And so he says in verse 33 of Luke 22, Lord, I am ready to go with you even to death. I will do it, says Peter. I am very loyal. Now you might be familiar with the next bit of the story. As it comes time for the numbers to be counted, suddenly Jesus goes from Jesus' side of the fence to anywhere else but there. Jesus is arrested. He's hauled before the court. His disciples are beginning to panic and get worried. And rather than sticking with Jesus right at that moment, suddenly Peter starts to fade to the background. So at the very start of our first reading this morning, it said, seizing Jesus, they led him away and took him into the house of the high priest, and Peter followed at a distance. Peter can't keep up with his own promises. 3 times he gets a chance to be the man he said he wanted to be, and 3 times his loyalty is absent. First, in verse 56 of our reading, a young servant girl says to him, you're with Jesus, aren't you? And he says, woman, I don't know him. Second, someone else around the midnight fire recognises Peter. In verse 58, a little later someone said to him, you're one of them, aren't you? And Peter says, man, I'm not. And thirdly, this once brave disciple no longer can stand as a loyal man of Jesus, and he's fallen well short. By the time we read verse 59, it says this: "About an hour later, another asserted, 'Certainly this fellow was with Jesus. He is a Galilean.' Peter replied, 'Man, I don't know what you're talking about.' No matter his intention, Peter couldn't do it. It was asking too much. Loyalty to Jesus was too hard, too tiring, and it just got to him, and he jumped ship. Now, Good Friday is the kind of day when all sorts of people can come and join us at church this morning, and it's great that you're here no matter who you are, but I wonder if the thought of staying truly loyal to Jesus is a little bit too much. You like the idea, but always hanging in there, maybe you think that's a promise you just can't keep. Might be an intellectual problem. You just think there are some facts you're not sure about, or maybe it's a feeling in your heart. You know Jesus is good, but you just think, I couldn't always stand by him. And whatever it is, whoever you are, sometimes the response is to hold Jesus out there at arm's length and just keep going with business as usual. You might even been a Christian for years, and sometimes you sense you're not as loyal to Jesus as you ought to be. You might not be able to relate to Peter, but see how you go with the other guy. There's one other guy who's got a problem on the way to the crucifixion, one other character who can't keep up to his own standard, and that is Pilate. And Pilate has a popularity problem. Now, Pilate's a governor and a judge, and you get the impression, actually, as you read it, he's a bit of a fair guy. One of those guys who, if you were caught for speeding and your wife actually was having a baby, he'd let you off. He's that kind of decent sort of bloke. And so the first impression we get from him in Luke 23 is he says that Jesus is innocent. He says in verse 4, Pilate announces to the chief priests and to the crowd, "I find no basis for a charge against this man." Just like Peter, Pilate wants to stick to his guns, his own standard. He wants to stick at them, and despite a bit of toing and froing, there's a bit of pressure from the crowd growing in on him, he holds his ground. So, in verse 13 of chapter 23, Pilate calls together the chief priests, the rulers and the people, and says to them, "You brought me this man as one who is inciting the people to rebellion. I've examined him in your presence and have found no basis for your charges against him." It's there again, isn't it? Pilate saying Jesus is innocent. Sadly, though, like Peter, Pilate's another guy that just cannot keep up to even his own standards. Not a failure of loyalty like Peter, but a failure of popularity. Because when you read the story, Pilate is up against one angry bunch of people. A big crowd, a crowd of people who could have caused a revolt. A massive group of the population. And I guess if you're a governor, you're thinking it's better to have 1,000 people like me and one guy hate me than the other way around. It's a bit normal, isn't it? So his dilemma is be liked by people or do the right thing. And in the face of the threat to his popularity, Pilate falls short and he gives in to the crowd. Here's what verse 23 says. But with loud shouts they insistently demanded that Jesus be crucified, and their shouts prevailed. So Pilate decided to grant their demand. Even though in his heart he wanted to give Jesus a fair go, he caves into the crowd. I mean, this probably happens to you. It certainly happens to me. Those times when you know what the right thing to do is. You know what the decent thing to do is. But you'd prefer to be liked than to do the right thing. Prefer to be looked on positively than stand up for the truth. And I think sometimes we can be like that with Jesus. I know I can, and I'm sure you can too. One of the reasons we hold Jesus off or don't want to say that we know him is not because of the facts about Christianity or because what's right or because what's true. Sometimes you actually just don't want to be embarrassed in front of your workmates. You don't want to look unusual in front of your friends or in front of your family. Sometimes looking good, being accepted, is much more important than the truth. It's very hard to stand up for something we believe in against people we want to like us. Let me ask, if you're honest with yourself, have you given Jesus a fair go? Or have you fallen short of that? Because being a Christian might make some people like you less. This morning, all we're doing is following a couple of characters on the way to Jesus' death who are falling short. Peter and Pilate, these guys, they're not half as good as they'd like to be. And it's actually far worse than failing on a reality cooking show. Because these guys have missed the mark, not just their own mark, but these guys have missed the mark in dealing with Jesus. You know, it's not as though I picked out some odd examples in this reading. If you read all of the characters up to the death of Jesus, they all look like that. Falling short with him. What Jesus himself calls sin. And this kind of falling short, not making our own standards, let alone in our dealings with Jesus, is a problem we'll all have at one time or another. I'll have it. You'll have it. Sin will pop up. Hit me. Hit you. You won't avoid it. But there's a good way to respond. A good way to respond. There's an ideal example of responding to falling short in one of the criminals who's hanging next to Jesus on the cross. Now this guy, he knows what he's dealing with. He knows he's got to surrender. He's like that kid who you bust getting all the biscuits out of the cupboard and they've got nothing to do but put their hand up and say, "It was me." Can I still have the biscuits is usually what follows. But this criminal realises his life has been a trail and wreckage of sin and he's come a long way short. And so as he's on that cross next to Jesus, look what he says to his fellow convict. It's in verse 40 of 23. He says to him, "Don't you fear God, since you are under the same sentence? We are punished justly, for we're getting what our deeds deserve." See what he does? Rather than trying to carry on and do business as usual and say there are no problems here, he says there's a problem. Now maybe at this point you're thinking, I'm certainly not a criminal. I certainly shouldn't be hung on a cross. I haven't done anything that wrong. Maybe that's true. But could it be said of you what this man says about Jesus? He says, this man has done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Nothing. There are days, aren't there, when like Peter, our loyalty even to our friends or our workmates or our husband or our wife, to our beliefs, our loyalty, it's tested. And there are days when it's just not good enough, when it falls short. There are times, aren't there, when despite all the facts that are put in front of you, despite all the evidences of whatever it is, instead of doing the right thing, you prefer to be liked. Maybe you've come here today and you've been trying very hard to keep up appearances. Been trying very hard to keep doing the right thing. You've been trying and trying and trying and you don't want to be exposed, but you're not going to give up trying and being a good person. But the reality is, you can't even keep your own standard, can you? And in relation to Jesus, like all these people on the way to his death, you're falling short. In the face of all that, you can keep up the facade. You can keep wearing yourself out. You can keep trying to be good, tiring yourself with the charade. And in the words of the criminal on the cross, you will be punished as you deserve. But you know what? Today is Good Friday. And there's something that makes it very good. Because if any one of us puts our hands up and says, I admit it, I got it wrong, the outcome is so very different. You just admit Jesus is truly the only good man, the only one who did nothing wrong. That Jesus is the Christ, Jesus is God's King, and that you just need him to sort it out. Here's what the honest criminal says to him. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. You know why today's good? Because we're reminded that on the cross, by the death of Jesus, there's forgiveness and a fresh start for every single time we fall short. There is a way into God's kingdom, not for the good people, for all of us who know we're not good. It's great because there's a forgiveness for that pride we have that wants to see us keep on pretending that we're good. And it's great because Jesus offers you a rest from the desperate attempts to keep up the facade. It's so tiring trying to pretend we're good all the time. But Jesus' death means you can have peace with him. And so he says to the confessing criminal, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. Look, Jesus didn't die at Easter so that you would come in here and walk out and feel more guilty. He didn't die so that you'd look at him and think, gee, I really need to improve my game and pull up my bootstraps. He didn't die for people who are under the impression they're amazing. He's the Son of God who died as a righteous man for our unrighteous life to bring you rest with God. Freedom from sin, peace with God. That's why Friday is good. Just talk to God, confess your sin, and rest in the forgiveness won at the cross of Christ.